Good day, everyone. It is Global Government News here with this news bulletin for August 11th, 2010. And I am Darko. Thanks again for joining me in this video. I have a lot of articles to cover. I'm not going to go too in depth with each one, but I'm not going to just squeeze in a few articles at the end without at least reading a paragraph. So I'm going to try to make that my new goal. Based off some comments that I've received lately. I thank you and appreciate the feedback. This first article is from Seattle Times and it's titled "Death Toll in China Landslides Rises to 1,117. Heavy rains lashed a remote section of northwest China as the death toll from the weekend flooding that triggered massive landslides jumped to 1,100, although the fading hopes of rescuers got a boost late Wednesday when a survivor was found in the debris. Says the state-run Xinhua News Agency gave no immediate details on the survivor found nearly 4 days after the disaster struck. Early Wednesday, a 50-year-old man was rescued who had been trapped in a knee-deep mud on the second floor of a hotel. Local officials were cited as saying at least 627 people were still missing. Also, very important, the National Meteorological Center warned that there was a, quote, relatively large chance of more landslides in the coming days as heavier rains was expected with up to 3.5 inches forecasted for Friday. Troops and rescue teams joined by traumatized survivors were increasingly turning to recovering bodies and seeing to the needs of the living. Clean drinking water was a primary concern with most local sources destroyed or too polluted to use. This next article is from ABC News. It's titled "Russian Fires Threaten to Stir Chernobyl Radiation." Russian fires threaten to stir and spread radioactive particles left from the Chernobyl disaster. Wildfires threaten to stir radioactive particles left over from the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster back into the air over western Russia, and authorities boosted forest patrols to keep the flames from contaminated areas. Environmentalists and forest experts warn that the radioactive dust could be harmful even though doses would be likely to be small. The danger is still there, Vladimir Chuprov of Russian Greenpeace told AP. Says the ministry has also reported sporadic wildfires last week, but said all were put out. Radiation experts from Moscow determined that there has been no increase in radiation levels in their Bursk area on the border of Belarus and Ukraine. Ministry spokesman Irina, attempt, said Wednesday. Finishing up on this article, the forest floor holds radioactive particles that settled after the Chernobyl disaster, which environmentalists warn could be thrown into the air by the fires raging across western and central Russia. The particles could then be blown into other areas by the wind, they said. Press TV covers it as Chernobyl toxic land burns in wildfire. Russia confirms that wildfires have spread to lands already contaminated during the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. The Wednesday announcement intensified concerns in the Bryansk region, which borders Ukraine and Belarus, and its soil was contaminated by the 1986 Chernobyl disaster. At least 28 fires covering an area of 269 hectares were recorded on the radioactive lands of Bryansk region, and the Zachita State Forest watchdog said in a statement. Authorities in Russia claim that they are in control of the situation, that they have managed to halve the lands consumed by the fire over the past 24 hours. This is while, according to reports, over 557 forest and peat bog fires are still blazing across the nation. So there's a lot of conflicting reports going on with these fires. This next one's from CBS News. It's titled "Pakistan Floods Could Give Taliban Time to Regroup." I've already covered this subject because it's already been posted before about the Taliban and militants, whatever, coming out and kind of gaining an edge during these recent floods in Pakistan, so I'm not going to really cover it too much. It just says the floods ravaging Pakistan are generating fears that Taliban insurgents could regroup amid the chaos and destruction. The country's already anemic economy is expected to weaken, increasing the poverty that is a factor in the militancy racking the country. That didn't really sound right, but moving on. Europe floods inflicts massive damage. Germany, Poland, and the Czech Republic face millions of dollars of damage as floodwaters recess after claiming at least 11 lives in the Central European nations. The Neisse River on the border separating Germany and Poland rose to 7 meters in 3 hours, and Görlitz more than 3 times the normal over the weekend. It says, but has now fallen by at least 40 centimeters, and a massive cleanup is underway across the region, the BBC reported. On Saturday and Sunday, rivers burst their banks, sending floodwaves through the towns such as Bacania in Poland, and the historic town of Bad Muskou in Germany. Says officials said the situation remains tense as thousands of people have spent days without electricity and natural gas in the Czech Republic, where flash floods have destroyed dozens of houses and bridges and caused some $215 million of damage. In Germany, some 1,500 people have been forced to leave their homes. It says, meanwhile, authorities in the German state of Saxony claim that they did not receive adequate warning about the dam collapse in Poland, which killed 9 people in the border region. This next article from the London Telegraph, oil spill, BP nears deal to continue drilling in Gulf of Mexico. I also covered this article, or this news, a couple of days ago. It's kind of just crazy to hear this, but BP was on Tuesday night close to safeguarding its future in the Gulf of Mexico as it neared a breakthrough deal aimed at smoothing relations with the Obama administration. It says the deal with the White House would allow BP to guarantee its $20 billion cleanup fund against revenues from its operations in the Gulf, which account for approximately 10% of its oil and gas business. If the deal were to be agreed, it remains one of a number of solutions being discussed. It would all but guarantee BP's future in the Gulf, despite efforts by certain members of the U.S. Congress to force the company away from the U.S. shores. And like Stefan Molyneux said, this is a shakedown. That's what it is. When you see this happen, they just voluntarily gave up. Usually the government has to shake them down, but BP, knowing the brevity of the situation, they just donated their $20 billion instead of being publicly shaken down. And this allows them to continue business no matter what the implications of their actions, right? This next article is from the London Telegraph as well, titled "Cloned Cows. 3 animals entered food chain but no milk." Again, I covered this recently. There was reports of cow milk being cloned, or cloned cow milk being circulated, but I guess that's not true. But the animal meat was. It says 3 animals that were the offspring of cloned cows entered the food chain, the Food Standards Agency has said, concluding its investigation into the roe. It says it is also confirmed that no milk ever entered the food chain. It was claimed by an unnamed farmer in the International Herald Tribune that has had sold milk from the offspring of a cloned cow that set off an international outcry over animal welfare and the ethics of cloning. Previously, the FSA said that the 2 bulls, both the offspring of a cloned cow and used for breeding, had entered the food chain. It has now confirmed that the meat from one of these was in fact sold to Belgium, and has also updated consumers by saying a 3rd animal, 1-month-old male calf, also entered the food chain, sold as veal in a London butcher's shop. So it's always after the fact. You know, they just do it, and then they see how you react to it. And based off your reaction, if it's not that big of a deal, well, then they just go forward with it, whether it's legal or not. And how about ethical, right? It says antibiotics efficiency wanes due to global spread of drug-resistant bacteria. This is from The Guardian. It says gene giving high levels of resistance to drugs found increasingly prevalent intestinal bacteria. And it says the efficiency of antibiotics is decreasing due to the spread of a bacteria gene conferring high levels of drug resistance. It says international travel and medical tourism have led to the rapid global spread of drug-resistant bacteria that may presage the end of antibiotics and leave doctors struggling to treat infected patients, scientists warn. And, it kind of narrows it down to, or tracks it to people who are getting cosmetic surgery done overseas. But this is my theory, guys, okay? I believe it's 3 things. There's 3 reasons for people's immunity, or people's ability to use antibiotics, right, to build their immunity. The reason I believe that it's been weakening is because of 1, over vaccinations, 2, all the antibiotics in the dairy products and in the meats, and 3, the nanoparticles that are affecting your DNA in your body that are being sprayed on you on almost a daily basis globally. May be wrong, but that's my theory. And thank you everyone for joining me in this video, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Thank you.